ist so etwas wie der Albtraum eines jeden Surfers. Mick Fanning erlebte ihn, als er in der J-Bay in Südafrika gerade auf die richtige Welle wartete. Hinter ihm tauchte plötzlich ein Hai auf und attackierte ihn. Der dreifache Weltmeister kämpfte um sein Leben, wehrte sich mit Schlägen und seinem Board.
Hello, I'm Paul Barry. Welcome to an international edition of Media Watch. And that was Deutsche Welle there with one of at least 3 German TV news reports on champion surfer Mick Fanning and his famous encounter with a shark off the coast of South Africa. But the boy from Penrith wasn't just news in Germany, he was also making waves in the United Arab Emirates, China, France, Cyprus, Russia and Spain. And in Portugal, where the story kicked off with the theme from Jaws.
O surfista Mick Fanning foi atacado por tubarão na final de Jeffreys Bay, na África do Sul. O australiano escapou ileso.
Back in Sydney, 2 days after the attack, Fanning and his fellow surfer Julian Wilson were greeted by a throng of cameras at the airport, and at the press conference that followed, some 200 journalists jostled for space in what was a feeding frenzy for their sponsors, with no prizes for guessing who they were. Those names and logos were beamed live to viewers of ABC News 24, Channel 7, Channel 9 and Sky News for up to 40 minutes. And radio had Fanning everywhere too, with many stations switching from normal programmes to go live. Online, the surfer was also making a splash in Bulgaria, India, Brazil, South Africa, Korea and Greece. And before long, the second wave crashed in as the creativity of the internet was unleashed.
Dem Feind gelungen, die Front in breiter Formation zu durchbrechen. Im Süden hat der Gegner Zossen genommen und stößt auf Stahnsdorf vor. Der Feind operiert jetzt am nördlichen Stadtrand zwischen Frohnau und Pankow und im Osten ist der Feind bis zur Linie Lichtenberg-Marsdorf-Karlshorst gelangt.
Mit dem Angriff Steiners wird das alles in Ordnung kommen.
Mein Führer.
Fanning was no doubt shaken by his near-death experience, but the rest of the world had hours of fun, celebrating his survival. With Bronwyn Bishop choppering to the rescue, and the shark being given a well-deserved soundbite. And best of all, it was all for free, which is the perfect introduction to our next story, about how hard it is to make people pay for online news. APN News and Media is soon set to become the first Australian regional publisher to put up paywalls. They'll go round its 12 regional dailies in Queensland and northern New South Wales, which include, among others, the Daily Mercury in Mackay, the Chronicle in Toowoomba, and the Northern Star in Lismore. So why does APN think this will work, where other media groups have had so much trouble? The company's Neil Monaghan told us,
those who have struggled with paywalls have ubiquitous content that people can get anywhere. As a regional publisher, as opposed to a generic metro newspaper, our content is unique. We have 350 journalists and photographers. If a local event doesn't get covered by us, it doesn't get covered at all.
That same philosophy has seen the world's third richest man, Warren Buffett, introduce paywalls on the 31 local daily newspapers in the US, owned by his Berkshire Hathaway Group. As Terry Kroger, his media CEO and publisher of the Omaha World Herald, explained to us from head office in Nebraska.
After the Super Bowl, not only can you find the score of the Super Bowl, I defy you to not know who won. If you want to read about the Grand Island football game, there are not many places you can read about that. It's the things that you do that are unique to you that are going to keep you indispensable to your readership.
So, what sort of unique local news will APN's readers back here in Australia be expected to pay for in future? Here's a sample.
Roundabout installation to make intersections safer.
Aircon belt breaks. Smoke fills hospital. Patients evacuated.
We're having sex this weekend. Our street pole turns heads.
Rocky honour boards found in Brisbane's second-hand shop.
Well, you certainly won't be able to read those stories anywhere else. So, what do readers think about being asked to fork out their hard-earned cash? Not a lot, to judge by the comments that greeted APN's announcement back in May.
If it moves to a paid site, then I will simply stop reading it.
Your online readership will drop off and out of oblivion.
I'll miss you, Chronicle, but not enough to pay the ransom.
Buffett's newspapers in the US have also faced opposition to making readers pay, according to Terry Kroger, and still do.
Some respond with righteous indignation about how dare you charge me for anything online, but more accept it than don't. We're gaining every year. It's a slow build.
But whether readers like it or not, there's no way Buffett's local papers will go back to providing news for free. And even if paywalls bring in a tiny fraction of their total revenue, which they won't reveal, but is well under 15%, Kroger says it's better than nothing.
We gave it all away and now we're playing catch-up. I would say our industry didn't handle this particularly well for a long time. Now we're trying to fix this.
Back in Australia, APN's regional dailies now pull in half their readers online or on mobile, so they feel they have to charge. But CEO Neil Monaghan says it will be a metered paywall with a number of articles each month for free, so the change may not be too dramatic.
The vast majority of consumers will still be able to enjoy the content up until they hit the meter.
And, strangely enough, Monaghan does not expect that many will actually give in and agree to pay.
Around the world, what people have achieved has been 1 to 3% of audience. That's kind of the beachhead, to get to that 3%.
Sounds hardly worth it. But, as Buffett also emphasises, it's a long-term strategy, and APN hopes that from little things, big things will grow. And meanwhile, if readers of the Daily Mercury, Morning Bulletin and Northern Star and others can't stomach paying online, they'll still be able to buy a real paper or read one at the dentist for free. But now to Alan Jones, whose appearance on Q&A last week helped boost the programme's audience by around 140,000 and showed the radio host in scintillating form on matters like politicians' perks.
How much taxpayers' money does it cost to keep these people going? I mean, I'm looking at figures here which are just staggering. One speaker, for example, went to Ethiopia and Switzerland in April, 1 month, for $114,000. I mean, this is the price of a house for many people in remote areas of Australia.
Jones was dominant, charming and persuasive, with facts and figures tripping off the tongue. But sometimes you wondered if they could all be right. And this one on the exorbitant cost of wind power really blew us away.
80% of Australian energy comes from coal-fired power, and it's about $79 a kilowatt hour. Wind power is about $1,502 a kilowatt hour. That is unaffordable. If you take that power and feed it into the grid, then every person watching this program has electricity bills going through the roof.
So wind power cost 19 times as much as coal? You'd have to be mad to support it. But is it true? Well, no, as a fact check by academic website The Conversation soon made clear.
Alan Jones has told The Conversation by email he acknowledges this comment was made in error and is not correct.
Jones's figure of $1,502 was exactly 10 times too high. He'd also used kilowatts when it should have been megawatts, which is out by a factor of 1,000. But graciously, he admitted his error in an email to Melbourne University energy expert Dylan McConnell.
I think you have rightly highlighted a ridiculous mistake that I made. Why I said kilowatt hours and not megawatt hours, and where the 1,502 comes from, I have absolutely no idea.
Well, we do. That figure of $1,502 is the work of cut and paste in The Australian, way back in June 2011. When the paper misquoted a Productivity Commission report from the previous month. And thanks to a stray decimal point, multiplied the cost of wind power tenfold, knocking it up from $150 per megawatt hour to $1,502. And doing the same to rooftop solar, which it blew up from $400 to $4,004, while keeping the price of coal the same at $79. Nice work. And since then, the mistake's been popping up everywhere. 6 weeks later, Paul Sheehan unaccountably repeated it in an opinion piece in the Sydney Morning Herald. And despite a rapid correction in the Fairfax papers, the error then found a new life, with Robert Borsak of the Shooters Party using the figures in a speech to the New South Wales Parliament, and the Conservatives at Menzies House repeating them in a blog in June 2012, which, like Borsak, added the error of kilowatt hours, inflated the cost of wind power by 10, did the same with solar, and concluded,
you don't need to be Einstein to work out that the high cost of wind and solar is the reason the public are being screwed with high electricity prices.
Well, all things being relative, Einstein would absolutely not have made that mistake. And it makes you wonder where Alan Jones gets his other figures from. But now to a story where what you say in the media comes at a much higher cost. Australian journalist Alan Morrison, who has worked for The Age and Herald Sun, is now facing up to 7 years in a Thai jail, as is his colleague Chudama Siddhasathian. Since 2008, they've been covering the mass exodus of the Rohingya people through Thailand on their online news site. And in July 2013, they published this story containing a paragraph from a Pulitzer Prize-winning Reuters report which alleged that
some Thai naval security forces work systematically with smugglers to profit from the surge in fleeing Rohingya.
That single paragraph has seen the 67-year-old Morrison and his colleague picked on by the Royal Thai Navy and charged with criminal defamation and violation of the Computer Crimes Act. 2 weeks ago, they went on trial in Phuket, and shortly after the evidence was completed, I talked to Alan Morrison via Skype in Thailand. What do you feel about the possibility of going to jail?
We hope it's unlikely. I mean, my colleague and I have been inside Phuket prison on dawn raids several times, and we know what conditions are like. I mean, the jail was built for 750 people and it now houses 3,000. So at my age, I wouldn't expect to last very long inside.
Why are you doing this? Why are you fighting this?
As a matter of principle. I mean, I've been a journalist for 49 years, and wherever I am, I think it's important that the media is as free as it can possibly be. And this was a false charge. I mean, there is no way that we committed a defamation. So what are we to do? Run?
Well, you could run. You could go back to Australia. You have had the opportunity to do that.
And leave my colleague here in Thailand, my brave colleague, to face the consequences? No, thanks.
You have been told that if you apologise, these charges will go away. Is that not something you could do?
Well, we've talked about our own circumstances and decided that the principle is more important, and we feel bound to pursue the principle at whatever cost to ourselves. So, you know, it's something that we've considered. But to ask us for an apology for something we haven't done, I mean, really, how do we do that? We say sorry for something that somebody else has said. I mean, it would create a precedent not just in Thailand but for other governments to react in the same way that the Thai government has reacted. And that's not something that would be good for journalism internationally.
It's still a very brave thing to do to fight this on a principle when it's your future and freedom at stake.
My colleague Kun Chudama is the brave one. I'm just pretending to be brave.
Is it easy to get acquitted under Thai justice, or is there a presumption of that you're not innocent?
Well, that's the real pain. We've been treated as criminals for 18 months. Having your fingerprints taken and having your passport taken is an indication of your guilt. I mean, you're guilty here until you're proven innocent. So it's been a real struggle. And during that time, just a little while back, Kun Chudama's father and my father both died within 2 days of each other. And that's when the real emotional drain came home.
Well, Alan, I'm sure there's a lot of people in Australia who wish you the best of luck. We certainly do. We'll watch the case, and I hope that it works out right for you, that you win. The verdict is expected on 1st of September, and they're being supported by the United Nations, Human Rights Watch, Reporters Without Borders, and even the Bangkok Post. But oddly enough, Reuters, which produced the report that has landed them in all that trouble, has been virtually silent. And you can read more about all tonight's stories on our Facebook page or our website, where you can get a transcript and download the programme and see a statement from the Australian about that cut and paste mistake. You can also catch up with us on iView and contact me or Media Watch on Twitter. But for now, until next week, that's all from us. Goodbye.